Hello, this is Sabina from Cross Keys Crafts. Today I would like to show you two stencil backgrounds with quite different effects. For that obviously you do need stencils. The first technique, I have chosen a stencil with bigger holes and then one with smaller holes. And the second one, I have chosen some tree stencils because I like to keep this as autumnal cards. And yes, for the second technique you need ideally some watercolor paper. This one's from Tim Holtz, but you can use any watercolor. And for the first technique, any cardstock is fine. I have also pre-cut the stamp out of normal printing paper that I would like to use later, but as you can see I haven't fussy cut it properly. I have cut inside the lines and you will see later why I did that. So I cut off all these fuzzy bits. I have got a little piece of postage just to protect my fingers later, and I have chosen some autumnal inks. These are all water reactive, which is definitely important for the second technique, which involves the water and some water cast-offs. Yes, I have got a water spray and some blending brushes. So I start with the first technique. Put this aside. As I said, I have just chosen some rather thin cardstock, but a bit thicker than paper. It doesn't really matter. So what you need to do is just put the stencil with the bigger holes down first, and then you just blend as normal, ink blend your ink through the holes. I just do it randomly, and you do it light, with a light hand, because you want to go over it with a second stencil a bit more heavy-handed. So you can stick this down with some tape if you want to. I think I'll just quickly do that. I don't want it to shift too much. As you can see, I don't swap my brushes between red and orange, but if you've got different brushes you can obviously have one for every colour. This one I have to be a bit careful. This ink pad is rather juicy, so it does get a bit patchy, but it doesn't really matter for this technique. Oh, one thing I have forgotten, which I wanted to use for this technique, is I'm going to put my little squirrel underneath because I want to use that as a mask. I forgot that I wanted to do that for this card. So I just lay this down at the bottom now. It's up to you what colours you use. As I said, I sort of keep autumn colours. I just like them, mix all these warm colours. But I will also use a bit of brown. Just add a bit of brown on the top. Okay. So what you do next is, without removing anything, it is caught a bit, but it doesn't matter, is you put the second stencil on top. Again, I will stick this down quickly. And now you go over the stencil with a more heavy hand, and you use similar colours as you have underneath. So this is the red area, and now you have to really press it through the holes to make sure you get onto the paper. And this is where these brushes are really useful. If you have foam blending tools, they might not get into these little holes. And this is what I said, you can use a bit of post-it tape just to hold the stencil down to protect your fingers if you want to. If you have a range of inks, you can also use a different shade of them, but I only own one red. I've got two yellows, but I've only got one brown and one orange. So as I said, just apply them with a heavy hand and you will get a different shade. This might actually be enough to use the orange bit. And more of the red down here. So, and if we've done it properly, or if I've done it properly, then if we lift it all up, the first layer, oops, falling off my chair here, layer, we end up with this. So we've masked the squirrel and the dots show through the other one. I will show you in the next video how I turn this into a card. Now the other technique have our watercolor cardstock. I will actually stick this down with a bit of removable tape because I find it easier to ink blend on it. So now we just apply ink. Again, up to you whether you want to do it in a randomly or do it like me in sections. It's really up to you. This time with a heavier hand. I also find I had to learn that the hard way. If you have got good cardstock, blending is really easy. If you use cardstock that is not really good for blending, you will get blotches. My orange is always a bit blotchy, but as you can see, blends nicely on this colour cardstock. I have used this on the Tim Holtz, who've got a textured side and a smooth side. I really like the textured side, but it's up to you which one you use. I hope you can still see me. I sometimes forget that the camera doesn't capture the whole table. So for this technique, you want a dark application really. So putting plenty on. I think I'll add a bit more of the orange. More red. And I'll have some brown on the top. in a bit. Okay, so all we need to do now is we spritz our stencil with water, and I'm doing that off screen above my bin here. You don't want any super big droplets, just more like a mist. And then you place this down onto your cardstock. You leave it to sit a bit. You can take some scrap paper and press it down a bit. When you lift it up, it has left the pattern of the stencil. You can take it off a bit if you've got any splotches. Probably I used too much water. Well, this is toilet paper, but I can use kitchen roll. Just take it off a little bit, and there you can see. We've got an imprint of the stencil, or rather a negative. This is called the spritzed stencil technique. And again, I will show you how I create a card from this background once it's dry. Okay, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.